This weekend, every time the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series hits the racetrack, it's a competition. Earlier in practice, it was a competition. Now, who will have the best starting position? Qualifying about ready to take place. Alongside Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, I'm Rick Allen. And Martin Truex Jr., he was the first winner of the weekend. He went out and was fastest in the first practice. Now qualifying. How important is going out there and showing your closest competitors that you're better than they are?
Well, I know that Jeff Burton feels like that the 22 team has got the advantage on pit road.
Speaking for him, I like that.
Well, if he comes out here and gets this pole, don't you think that makes that advantage even more important?
I do. I think they do have a great pit crew. And also in practice, we saw the 18 car use an extra set of tires. Means they don't have another set of stickers for tomorrow trying to get that pole. They're invested in this pole. If you use that set of tires and you don't get that pole, I think you're disappointed about that. But that #1 pit stall for every one of these guys, we've seen every one of these races has come down to a late race restart. What does that mean? A late race pit stop. That #1 stall is huge.
So you're saying that one of the championship 4 is going to win the pole? Are we going to put that out there?
I believe that, they have a great chance of doing it, looking at their speeds in practice. If one of them has a mistake, misses the first round or even the second round and starts deep in the field or even mid-pack, I mean, that makes for a long night. You're not going to work your way on the racetrack up toward the front. I mean, it just really puts you in a big hole if you're starting outside the top 10. No, and especially if the other 3 guys are up there toward the front. It's a psychological disadvantage to have a poor qualifying performance tonight.
All right, so we're going to see probably different lines with the different rounds of qualifying. They'll try to be on the bottom of the racetrack in the first round, or will they go bottom and top?
It looks like to me they're going to run the bottom in 1 and 2 and the top in 3 and 4. The question is, how high are they going to run in 3 and 4? This racetrack is not a normal 1.5 miles. It wears tires out. From one run to the other, it's harder on tires, so maybe run higher the third round, higher, closer to the wall. I suspect that's what you'll see.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think the guys prefer the bottom 1 and 2. It seems to have plenty of grip. That's where we saw a lot of them run their practice runs on their second and third run all day today. So, again, in the third lane, in 3 and 4, and they'll move up just a little bit with each run.
All right, let's bring in the crew chief, Steve Letarte, down on the Peacock pit box. Now the sun has set, starting to get a little bit cooler. Steve, as a crew chief, how do you attack this qualifying session?
Well, Rick, I think that's exactly it. You mentioned the lines and how they may vary from the first round to the second to the third. Well, I think the setup of the race car has to change as well. Practice was in the middle of the day. Even though it was a cooler and an overcast day for South Florida standards, it's still the daytime, and any sort of sunshine will heat up the racetrack. You had mentioned the sun has set, the lights have come on. I think that changes the setup, but then these tires, these Goodyear tires these guys run, they go away. The grip goes away as designed. They're not supposed to be great for the entire life. You want them to go away. You want new tires to be an advantage. Well, what that means is the setup, the line, the adjustments for round 1 will have to change for round 2, will have to change for round 3. We already saw it in practice. Joey Logano right there. He came off the truck very poorly, but by the third run on tires, I think he was the fastest of the championship 4. We're going to see which race team, which crew chief, which driver communicate and adjust their cars most effectively as the rounds progress.
Again, every time they touch the track, it's a competition. Well, this is a big one. Starting position for Sunday's race is on the line.
And let's chat with Kyle Busch, obviously quick earlier in the practice today. And is this the most important qualifying session? Obviously, you're in the championship 4. That pit stall 1's a massive advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, I think any week is always important, but, there's more emphasis certainly on this one. But guys on this M&M's Camry have done a great job, and we come off the truck okay, had some really good speed the first run, and just kind of worked on and fine-tuned trying to find that balance, that better feel to be able to go out here and be comfortable laying a lap down. But we'll see what we have. I think that still, we should be able to come out here with at least the top 5, hopefully.
How important was it to learn a few things on that last set of sticker tires?
It just kind of gives you a better understanding and a better feel for being able to go out here right now and know how hard to run, know how hard to push, and you're not that run behind. Like, I feel like we're actually kind of a run ahead. So maybe tomorrow that's going to be a different story, but this is more important right now than practice.
There you go. We'll see if it pays off for Kyle Busch, won the championship 4, Kelly.
And while he was fast in practice today, this man was just that much faster. Martin Truex Jr. quickest in first practice. But talk to me a little bit about strategy for this qualifying and how hard you need to push it in this opening round.
Fast enough to make top 24.
And no more?
You want a little wiggle room, yeah. So you can definitely save a little bit here tire-wise. So, we'll just have to see. It's hard to say how much track's going to pick up and all that, but Best Pro Toyota had good speed in practice, and it's hopefully we can back it up. We'll see what we can do.
Obviously, two big things come with the pole position, the ultimate track position and the ultimate pit stall. Does one outweigh the other?
I would say the pit stall, if it's a big advantage, usually outweighs the track position, and unless you're talking about coming from the back or something. If you're somewhere near the front, usually you're okay. It's a long race, a lot can happen. Short runs, long runs here, a lot changes around, and a lot of comers and goers with this kind of fall off in the tires. So with that said, we'd like to be first, and we'll go try to do it.
All right, everyone vying for that #1 pit stall, Steve.
Yeah, Kelly, I think it's interesting. Jeff, you and I are having a conversation. Why would you just not go right on the racetrack, run, get this first round over with if you're one of the championship 4 thinking they can run inside that top 24? Well, Martin brings up a good point. Maybe if you wait, you have a little bit better idea of what lap time it's going to take. I just don't know. As a crew chief, I'm not sure I have confidence telling you as a driver to run 80% or 90%. I mean, can you really leave a little speed out there and try to save some tire life?
We've seen drivers do it. And Kyle Busch, I think we've seen do it more than anybody else. I couldn't have done it, but Kyle Busch has been really good at finding a way to run just fast enough to get into the top 24.
Yeah, I was thinking about Kyle Busch having that extra opportunity to run on stickers. Maybe he's the only one or one of the few that might be confident enough to know exactly how hard he does need to go. Maybe that's what that sticker run might have been all about, for all we know. But these guys are going to go out there and try to save a little bit in this first round. Be interesting to see if that'll work.
I think it was very interesting. Kyle Busch made the comment, I'm not worried about practice. I'm not worried about practicing for racing. This is what I'm focused on right now. Qualifying, most important thing for him. Which of the 4 beasts will come out tonight as far as the championship 4? Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr. all strapped in, ready to go for this qualifying session. And since this format has been implemented into the championship run, it has taken a win. To win the championship, you have had to win the race. That was how close the competition has been all the way back from 2014 when Kevin Harvick won his first championship. Kyle Busch, his first championship in 15. Jimmy Johnson's 7th championship in 2016. And then Martin Truex Jr. winning his first championship in 2017.
I love these cameras. All 4 championship contenders have cameras. Great shots. Marty.
Hey, Jeff, I find it interesting. We saw Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. out of their cars. Obviously, we talked to those guys. Joey Logano climbed in just seconds before that. Kevin Harvick was in his car about 10 minutes before anybody got out to pit road. So that tells me, I don't know if you agree, Steve, but that tells me that they want to go out immediately here, lay down a lap, and let it cool down for round 2.
I think they want to go out immediately, and I think Kevin Harvick set the tone last week. Didn't say a lot in the media center. Very focused. Trying to keep all the clutter off the horizon, Jeff. Getting in your car, that's your office, right? You can avoid all the questions, all the media, really everyone on pit road.
Yeah, behind pit road, behind the pit boxes are a ton of people right now. Everybody excited for this weekend, and I think it just gets you in your environment. Get that window net up, and it's just you. Let you focus on what you want to get done.
And as you mentioned, a few cars rolling right away. You have to use the access road to get onto the track. So a few of those cars going out. One of those cars, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, just showed him winning the championship, his 7th back in 2016 at this racetrack. It'll be the last race for Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson together, as well as Lowe's as a sponsor, which has been with Jimmy since he started his Cup Series career at Hendrick Motorsports.
3 of our championship contenders are parked down here at the end of pit road. Kyle Busch still in his stall as these cars go around the track.
See, Jimmy ran the bottom 1 and 2. Let's see what he does in 3 and 4. Bottom in the middle.
Track record here under a 30-second flat lap, 29.795. That was back in 2014 by Brad Keselowski. If we see someone go sub 31, that's going to be a pretty good lap in the 30s.
Alex Bowman, 31.18. That's pretty good considering his teammate ran a 31.40.
Jimmy Johnson, a 31.42. And that might not make it into top 24.
Yeah, probably won't. I think that's going to be pretty disappointing. 31 flat, 31.08 for Kurt Busch. I think Kurt is a good standard or a good mark, a good measure for these guys out here to see what a top 10 car is going to do.
Austin Dillon actually came by the TV compound just a little while ago. Ooh, and a big wiggle there. But came by and said, if we can qualify inside the top 15, he said, we're going to race better. But with that big bobble there, that might take another run out there if he wants to get the speed he's looking for in this qualifying session. This one, he's 0.4 of a second off of what Kurt Busch put up. 31.49 for Austin Dillon.
See right there, just couldn't keep the back of the car hooked to the racetrack. No choice but to come off throttle, get the thing settled back down. Just can't afford those types of loss of traction in qualifying. That'll probably force him to make another run. We'll see. It'll be close.
Denny Hamlin, interesting tweet as we go now to Martin Truex Jr., one of the championship 4.
Truex coming to get the green flag.
Let's listen to the motor here and see how he does. Get back to throttle. Hard to the throttle.
Yes.
Like a real quick reaction to the throttle, little commitment there.
And more throttle than we saw in practice today. Much more able to just go to the throttle and stay in it.
Nice. Sounds pretty good.
In the green. And it looks as though Martin Truex Jr. is going to be the first one to throw down a lap and let everyone know what to shoot for.
So you listen to that throttle and you hear them go to the throttle. If you hear that throttle come in and then come back off a little bit, you can tell that they're sliding either the front or the back of the car and can't really commit.
It's
That's what we're trying to listen for.
About the same speed as he ran in practice. Fast time was in practice with Martin Truex. It sounded much better.
Yeah. Sounded like he did use more throttle. You'd think he'd run a faster lap time.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Big step out.
Hanging on to that thing.
Really loose.
Yeah, it was.
7th quick for Clint Boyer at a 31.42. Exact same time as what Jimmy Johnson ran. Now Chase Elliott in the 9. Kevin Harvick, another one of the championship 4, on the track now.
So had that conversation about trying to save a little bit of tire.
Look, he's up a little bit.
Yeah, he's not on the bottom.
He's not going to commit to the bottom. Didn't even try to go there. Interesting to see how that works out.
Or did he try to go there and didn't get there? Right there, all day long, seems like Harvick's car has not rotated as well as Truex.
Well, we got to remember that they may be backing that pace off a little bit to save some tire, but I agree with you, Jeff. He's not been able to commit the throttle like we've heard the other guys most of the day.
Here comes Logano. He was the slowest of the 3 in the practice earlier today.
Chasing that back off the corner a little bit, but still a good lap.
And because those guys were not very good on stickers when they first started Q, I wonder if he can hold back. I wonder if he has to push his car to really learn what it can and cannot do. You can see this lap time. He's going to be the fastest.
He's going to have the fastest lap. Logano. 30.94.
Man, that thing sounded good. Bottoming out, ticking just a little bit. Side skirts and stuff ticking through 3 and 4. That thing is down, sealed off. And in practice, he went out on his 3rd run and improved significantly. I think this team has a history of improving through the rounds of qualifying, improving their speed, getting more competitive.
Junior came on the radio, said, really? He was surprised by the time. He said, well, it finally got through the corner for the first time today.
How unnerving has that got to be? I mean, he went out there and practiced, what was it, 8 laps, and then that's the first time that it handled the way he wanted it to, and he was going out there trying to put down the best lap he could.
Yeah, he put that lap in practice on his 3rd run on his tires was great. Well, he probably didn't feel like it drove very good, but the speed's there in the car.
Here's Eric Almirola.
Tough week last week for Eric Almirola. So close to winning that race. If he could have won that race, he'd have been here with a shot to win the championship. Just couldn't quite make it happen. In position, restarting on the outside on the last restart did not work out well for him.
27 cars have taken time, and Kyle Busch now rolling out onto the track. He's the last of the championship 4 to go. The slowest right now is Harvick, and he's 14th. More than likely, he's comfortable to advance into the second round at 14th and a 31.25.
You got to assume that he definitely dialed some out. He didn't run as hard as he could have, trying to save a little tire. He didn't run the bottom in turn 1 and 2. If that was intentional, to probably save a little tire, save a little lateral on the tire, lateral load.
And Kyle Busch runs the bottom through 1 and 2.
I wonder if these guys save a little bit of tire by rolling 1 and 2, understanding what you have, then trying to save tire on this end of the racetrack. I don't know.
He's not saving anything right now. He's in the green.
Should be okay.
Should be okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Should be first. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr. 1, 2, 3.
Well, it looks like 3 of them decided to go all out, or near 100%. Harvick's a little bit slower. We'll see if that pays off.
And if there was a strategy there. If he did run a little bit higher, wanting to save some so that he would be better in the third round when it counts.
Yeah.
Or if these guys are saying right now, oh, I ran too hard.
Yeah, maybe we went too quick. Maybe a little too hard on the tires.
Yeah, this place is so abrasive.
There's Kyle Larson, and everyone pointed to Kyle Larson, at least the championship 4, as a factor in this race. Championship 4 all wants to go out and win the race because they know if they win the race, they win the championship. And they said, but if Kyle Larson's out there, we're going to race the best we can to stay in front of the other guys. But all having tremendous amount of respect for Kyle Larson at this racetrack.
This place is so slick and worn out. This is one of the few racetracks where the car does move around a lot. And that suits the way that Kyle Larson likes to drive a race car, kind of sideways and hanging the right rear out, running the high line, being able to move around. And although it's not the same, when you do run the high line at this place, it's very similar to running the cushion at a dirt track.
I wonder, too, if it's not a little bit of an advantage for Kyle Larson not being in the championship battle in the early portion of the race. He's willing to take some chances that the other guys can't really afford. We've seen him lead stages here, win stages here, do those kind of things, run very, very well early. But, you know, he's not in a championship battle. If he hits a wall, no big deal. Those other guys, they cannot afford an early mistake.
Yeah, unlike the Xfinity cars with the composite body, these cars here do have flanges, and you see character lines and so forth around the quarter panels that if they do get in the fence, it's going to change the aerodynamics and the competitiveness of these cars. So these guys have to be much more careful and particular and exact when they're out there running that high line. If they can get in the fence, they're going to hurt the car until the team can improve and repair it on pit road, but you'd rather not have to take the time to do that. Kevin Harvick always tries to run, you know, a little bit off the wall, save a little bit, not have to even run on the fence if he doesn't have to.
He doesn't look too worried, by the way. 15th right now. There's only 6 cars that still need to take time before everyone will have been on the track.
It'll be hard-pressed for these guys to go out there and improve, but Bubba Wallace looks like he might do just that. And we worried about Jimmy Johnson, who's 23rd right now. Bubba Wallace looks like he's going to get into the top 24 here with this lap.
Yeah, pretty easily.
That'll put Johnson on the bubble.
Austin Dillon now outside of the top 24.
There's Jimmy.
And will Jimmy have to roll out here to try to break back into the top 24? Now just 5 cars still to take time.
I think you have to assume you're going to have to run again.
Austin Dillon's going to go back out and try. Sitting in 25th.
Seen some speed from this team lately. Seen some definite improvement.
He was in 7th in practice. I think that mistake in his run just a moment ago
So we're going to find out right now. He was 7th in practice, very loose that first run. We're going to find out if these tires can run faster the second time out.
He was in the green, but then lost all of it through the turn. Now getting back here.
This is where it's hard down here. Remember, you're coming to 3 and 4. It's that much more lap on the tire. Any roll here is going to determine whether you mix it or not. It's going to do it.
That was quick. He lost a lot, but then bounced back, as you mentioned, almost close to 0.2 of a second better, and up to 14th. That puts Johnson below the cutoff line.
Jimmy's down at the end of pit road here.
See him firing the car back up.
At your leisure roll.
Clint Boyer has to assume that Jimmy Johnson will go out and run faster. He needs to be getting ready.
Now just 2 minutes to go.
24 car William Byron trying to get on the racetrack. He's down in 27th. Plenty of time. They can still work together.
I'd mentioned 5 cars that hadn't gone. Now there's only 3, and one of those is the 15 of Ross Chastain. Well, I can see into the garage, and the 15 is still there. So we're not assuming that the 15 will get out to make a run. So that means only one more car. Matt DiBenedetto still has to run, and he's on the track. And now you're seeing William Byron go out in the 24. Jimmy Johnson in the 48's also rolling.
Saw all 3 of those cars in the pit road. They all tried to roll at the same time because spotters were telling them, hey, you got an opening. William Byron had the position on him. He was able to get rolling.
William Byron is 28th right now. Boyer 25th. And under a minute to go in the first round of qualifying from Miami. Jimmy Johnson back out on track. He was in the green momentarily. Now he slipped back into the red.
Here he comes, though. Good exit off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. Gaining time. This looks pretty comfortably into the top 24.
See how he negotiates through 3 and 4.
Backed up the entry just a little bit. Got a good straight run on exit. Just got to jump on in there.
And with a great second effort, Jimmy Johnson 19th.
Ringing out.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe if he didn't make it that we would get Jimmy on the box for
that would have been interesting.
Hard to talk to.
Without a beard, the beardless Jimmy Johnson.
Boyer lost a lot of time in 1 and 2. You can see why. He came off turn 2, was already 3/10 behind, and just completely out of control in the middle of the corner. Shut it down. No sense in running. Frustrated Clint Boyer. You see that last part of that corner, that was just, he knew it was
driver
over.
frustration.
Yeah. Things just haven't worked out in these latter part of the playoffs for this 14 car.
Jimmy Johnson started the day, went on a bike ride, and then teased everyone with a shot of a Gillette razor and said, hey, if we're going to throw it back, we're going all the way. Well, he did. He shaved the beard. 7 years he's had it. Take a look at 25th through 39, the cars and the positions they will have on Sunday. David Reagan, the closest to making it into round 2, all the way down to Ross Chastain. Actually didn't come out of the garage for his qualifying run. Let's go down to pit road. Kelly, who's with Ty?
Yeah, Ty Dillon, who will line up 31st tomorrow here at Homestead Miami Speedway, a one-of-a-kind racetrack. What are the unique challenges of this place in putting down the perfect lap?
I think it's just it's tough. You come here at the end of the year every year, and you haven't ran any laps since last year. So the turnaround is pretty long, and you have a lot of racing. But just unfortunately, we didn't really get the lap that we wanted. But we always race pretty good here. I love this racetrack, and I love that it's multiple grooves. You can run from the white line all the way to the wall, and that seems to fit my style pretty good. So we'll be looking forward to going forward in the race. I think we were running inside the top 15 with a couple laps to go last year and had a flat tire. So, and I think we started 31st. So we know we can go forward. This is definitely a place for that, especially with the way the tires fall off, which suits our team really well. So we're going to have a great day on Sunday and finish out the year strong.
There you go. All right, lining up 31st, but full of optimism, Rick.
I love that attitude. I think we started 31st. We were running top 15 toward the end of the race. So Ty Dillon has the positive outlook. Round 2 and the championship 4 all will be a part of it.
The Peacock Pit Box on pit road. I got myself a guest. And Regan Smith, he's been part of this Furniture Row Racing Timeline. Big story, the last race for Furniture Row Racing. This organization started all the way back in 2005, making its debut in Nashville. Regan Smith wins that first career win for Furniture Row back in 2011 at the Southern 500. Then Kurt Busch brought the car into the playoffs for the first time back in 2013. And then how can we forget, just a year ago, Martin Truex Jr. wins that first Cup Series title for Furniture Row. So Regan, first of all, thanks for joining me down here. Appreciate it, buddy.
Well, as much as I'd love joining you here, I'm disappointed that I am joining you because that means that I'm out in the first round. But definitely was a little bit of a struggle for us today. We fought a loose race car, tight race car at times, but ultimately loose in qualifying and didn't find the grip we wanted. So now I get to talk to you for a little bit.
Yeah, you would think when the sun goes down it should get easier, but it doesn't. It seems to get more difficult. So we just showed the timeline of Furniture Row. We currently do a great job on pit road for Fox in the first half of the season. You've been filling in for Casey Kane in the 95. But talk about that time. You drove multiple years for Barney Verson in that 78 team. You must have as good idea of anybody what that team's like.
You know, it's for me, it's really sad personally to see it go away and to get to visit the guys. I was out in the shop a couple weeks ago there. We did a piece with them and to get to visit them and talk to them and see the emotion and hear the passion in their voice that's still there. That made me even more sad after I visited them and saw all that. But, you know, that is something, what Barney did and what that team has accomplished in the sport is something I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. And let's be honest, they're all the way in Denver, Colorado. I was working for Ginn Racing at the time when they first went into business, and we thought it was a joke. Oh, there's a race team in Colorado, and they worked out of our shop occasionally, and we kind of scratched our heads and we didn't understand it. And it wasn't until I went to work for them that I got it, and I realized what Barney was doing, and he got so many people to buy into his system and buy into having it out there. And man, it's disappointing it's going away. But on the flip side, it's impressive what they've accomplished also.
So as we hear the engines fire, we see the 78 roll down to pit road for the start of the second round of qualifying. You've been on track with these playoff guys all throughout the playoffs. Any surprise these are the 4 drivers we see at Miami?
Well, I don't think there's a surprise that the big 3 are there. I would say Joey Logano, there's about 6 guys that we thought could have made it and could have been in that spot, but he got hot when the playoffs began, and he's the guy that's there, and now all of a sudden he's out there. He's got speed again today after what was a little bit of a struggle in practice. So interested to see who ends up getting the job done in qualifying, because I think that's going to be very important as the weekend goes on here, and I think it could set the tone for that car that eventually becomes the champion.
Well, so talk about that. I've mentioned it. Dale and Jeff upstairs kind of talk about that first chance to win in competition. Is qualifying right here as we see Martin Truex Jr. going out on the racetrack. As a driver, that's got to make a change your mental approach. If you get beaten in qualifying by your competitors, it's the first chance and you failed. You weren't the best.
Well, and I think if you end up, let's say they're 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not quite as bad of a mental issue when it comes to it. But yes, if you end up qualifying 15th and your competitors are all up there towards the front, you're partially beat already. It makes the weekend that much more difficult because now you got to leapfrog all those cars. You don't have as good of a pit stall selection, so there's a lot of pressure on this. As we see Mark Truex Jr., he is sawing on the wheel. They're looking for grip everywhere out there.
Ran the bottom of that end, probably I'm guessing the middle of the top down here.
I would expect him to. That's where he's been all day long. He was also there last year when you look back at the qualifying tapes, which right there on that exact same line.
Studying up, he watched back to last year, currently trending in the green, guys. He might get really close to a 31 flat, 31.04 for Truex. Another solid lap.
I love seeing the original flat black scheme back on that
Brings
race
back
car.
some memories.
That does bring back some memories. I was impressed when they rolled that out today and we got to see that race car that looked like that.
Here's another one, the 22. Joe got a little off when he came off the truck today, but by that third run, had run a great lap, like a 31.30 on used tires. We'll see here what he has to do. He also goes to the bottom of the racetrack. We'll take a look at working inside.
I'll be curious as the rounds move on if these guys start moving up just a little bit in turns 1 and 2 even. As the grip goes away from these tires, we know that in 3 and 4 they're going to be towards the high side. You can only get 1 run on that bottom, so I'd expect them to creep up a little bit closer. And we see he's even a little bit higher than Martin Truex Jr. was in the run prior to that on quarter entry, but he cuts it down and gets a nice straight shot for extra.
Okay, hitting to Logano. He looks just a touch off from Logano, or excuse me, a touch off from Truex. Still second, though. I think we better get used to looking at the top of the leaderboard if we want to see the playoff drivers. Harvick, you see him down there. He hasn't run yet, but he was a little off in the first round. You think the strategy of saving tire does exist for someone like Kevin Harvick?
Man, it's so tough to do that in the Cup Series. There's so many good cars here that it's a big risk, and we're going to find out right now if that's what he was doing. When I saw him, I was sitting in the car, and I could see the scoring monitor up in front of me, and I saw that, and I thought, no way he saved his tires right here, but potentially he did. Really nice corner right there. Back to the gas early. Right to the bottom. I'm going to say he was probably saving some tires.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good right here. What's your biggest concern qualifying heading into 3 right here?
Well, into 3, you want to make sure that you get the right arc so that you can get your right sides where you want them. I like to be a little bit above that seam where he's at. We saw Truex go right across that seam, though, and it worked for him. So evidently just a little bit of time lost down there for him.
Yeah, we'll see where he pops in. That might be a couple behind, which starts to make a difference. 6 out of 11. I'm not sure that's a guaranteed movement into the final round. Remember, only 12 go through. Truex, Logano, I feel really good about them. Harvick, I mean, I think it's good enough, but you just don't know. I mean, you don't know what Newman, Menard, Elliott, Dillon. Dillon had to run a couple times, maybe not for him. That might be some of the reason that Harvick feels better is Dillon and Jimmy Johnson also had to run twice.
Yeah, there's definitely some cars back there that can still beat him. I think he's going to be okay right there when it all shakes down as we look through it real quick on the times and who's left to go. How hard is this playoffs to handicap, though? When you look at this Final Four, I think this is the toughest that we've seen. Really, in all 3 series across the board, it's unbelievably difficult to handicap all the drivers in these series this year, which is good. That's good for the fans.
Oh, absolutely. And this racetrack, I think, is great for the fans to be the finale. You won here in an Xfinity car, driving Junior Motorsports car.
I know the guy that was crew chiefing me.
I messed it all up, but you did a great job up there.
You were 1 for 1, batting 1,000 in the Xfinity series after that.
It was. But we talk about running the wall, and you say this, no joke, I had the wrong pit strategy, but you put it on the fence that night, and you were just super consistent, never made a mistake. How difficult is it to just continue to run the walls? Eric Jones is on a great lap right here. We'll see if he can continue. Yeah, he does look pretty good. What's it like running right against the fence?
Well, you know, for me, if the race car is good, which our car was very good that night, it's not as challenging as much as you might think because you've got that air cushion. All you've got to do is make sure you're disciplined enough to back the corner up so that you can get back to the gas pedal early, because when you get to the gas pedal and you're up against that wall and that air cushion forms, there's no feeling in the world like it. You're like, man, I feel like I just gained, 20 pounds of grip on the right rear, because you do from the side force, if not more. So it really, it can be a lot of fun when your race car is good. When your race car is a struggle, it's not fun at all, because you think every time you go into that corner, you're going to hit it, you're going to ruin your day, you're going to knock a fender in on the tire.
Well, Eric Jones to the top of the board, a non-playoff driver. That would be a big story if none of the playoff drivers got the first pit stall. We're still only in the second round. We'll see what Jones's teammate, the 18 of Kyle Busch, he can counter. Oh, that little out of the gas, right? And look, continues to hurt him down the backstretch.
And that actually happened more towards the middle of the corner. That car started taking off and nosing it just a little bit in the middle of 1 and 2. When it did, and he got up a little bit high on exit, that's where that wiggle came from and caused him to have to lift a little bit.
What a great 3 and 4, though, to gain some time back. I think this is going to put him in front of Harvick. Oh, yeah, right up there between Truex, Busch, and Logano. So we talked about Harvick saving tires. Still the slowest of the championship 4 with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left. We'll see, like we mentioned before, Dillon and Johnson, who have yet to run, had to run twice. Wallace, McDowell, I think they're actually pleased looking at practice to make the second round. So I think Harvick at this point has to feel pretty good about moving forward.
Yeah, I think Kevin's fine right here. And quite honestly, now they've just got to turn their attention to what they've got to do, what they got to adjust to get him through this final round, to get him maybe a little further up. Let's say he ends up 8th when it's all said and done. That's not the end of the world. It's still Kevin Harvick in the race car. And I don't know. It seems like he's one of those guys that can get up on the wheel and get that extra little bit whenever he needs to. We've seen that out of him for, 15 years now?
Yeah, without a doubt, as Newman bumps Chase Elliott below the cut line. The 9 had such a great year, just couldn't quite close the deal, got in that accident and closing laps of Phoenix. So you talk about watching tape to come here. You knew where the 78 had run last year. How do drivers prepare coming to a track like this that we only see once a year? Is it different than a track you see, at least twice throughout the season?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. When we talked back at Las Vegas about 10 weeks ago, I had not really dove into the SMT data yet, and that was something that was very interesting.
The overlays,
the throttle traces, the steering traces, and I was able to use that at a lot of the tracks that we went to try and remind myself before I got there, hey, this is what I need to do. This is what the good guys were doing.
And you can see everyone's data, right?
You can pull up everybody's data. It blew my mind when I got to look at it for the first time as a driver, what it was capable of and what you could learn from it. Well, when we came to Homestead, I went to hop on the computer and pull it up, and I forgot we only come here once a year.
Yep.
There was no SMT data to look at, so it presented a little bit more of a challenge from that standpoint, that I had to actually go and watch the tapes, which I like to watch the tapes anyways, and even on the TV side of things. You know, for me with the Fox job, watching the tapes helps me out. I want to know how the flow of the race went the year before, and if it's just something where I'm on a treadmill or on a bike or something, it gives you opportunity to watch it and learn.
Yeah, well, everyone asks, how do you prepare? And that's it. Just watch the races, pay attention. Austin Dillon, we'll see if he can improve. This will be interesting to me because he had to run that extra time in the first round. Is there tire life left? He's up the track a little bit. You mentioned older tires.
But he's been up the track all day. This is a line Austin has been running. I watched his stuff from practice earlier. He's been that same line consistently all day long. He worked for him in practice, and right now it's working pretty good so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is the third run on this set of tires. If this moves into the top 12, it's going to be very impressive. He's up high. Can he commit to the throttle on that exit? It's sliding.
There.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work.
But don't forget, these guys are watching this right here. And before this last round goes out, they're going to see that he was a tenth of a second ahead of the cut line when he got into turn 3 and he ran higher in 1 and 2. It would not surprise me to see a few guys start creeping up there based on what he just did.
So we see the championship 4 sitting in their cars a minute ago. That's what they're looking at, right? They have not just time and score, but they're watching the same TV feed. That's something as a driver you would notice instantly as his line up the track.
And more importantly than that, I would notice where the time shift was on his line. And if they're getting the information relayed to him, hey, that was his 6th lap on this set of tires compared to their 4th lap, they're really going to take a mental note of that. And holy cow, that was quick for that many laps on tires.
Jimmy Johnson currently trending in the red. We'll see if we can bring him back. Kyle Larson. All right, he gets the award. That's the highest qualifier I've seen today. The lap time is going to come back in a hurry for the 42, running the top. Can he make enough up?
Got it.
Oh, barely. And the reason I knew it, and I think he's going to be bumped out perhaps right away by Suarez. No, he's still got some lap to go. Blaney. The reason I talked about that, I mean, that's the advantage to the top, right, is picking the throttle up early and getting that momentum. You saw it with the 42, how much time he gained on corner exit.
All of your time is made by getting back before the middle of the corner. If you're on the bottom or lower, you've got to get to the throttle at a completely different point than the top. Up top, you're getting back to it seemingly on corner entry still and driving it around the corner with the back of the car.
See right here, Bowman, he's a little bit lower. He's not going to quite get that. It's going to be hard to gain on Larson off turn 4 as good as he exited the top right there. We have the Reds currently out. We have Paul Menard and Matt Kenseth on the racetrack.
Kenseth's going to try the Larson line up top here.
I like the commitment. All right, with those 2 finish, that'll be it. All 4 advanced. No surprise there. Regan, listen, man, first of all, congratulations. Appreciate you coming up here, doing a great job in that 95. We look forward in February when I'm on the couch watching you get back on pit road for Fox. It's going to be great. I'm jealous you get the Daytona 500, but I'm thankful we get the playoffs and the championship race here at Miami.
I can't wait to get to Daytona and get our season started on Fox. And I would tell you I'm going to watch you on Sunday and be excited to watch you on Sunday, but I'm hoping I'm not watching you Sunday.
Yeah, listen,
if I'm watching you Sunday, it's been a bad day.
I don't want to interview you anymore for the rest of the weekend, so it's been a good time. All right, guys, pressure is packed. All 4 of the championship 4 advance to the final round. On the other side of the break, we're going to see which one can put the lap down, perhaps win the pole here at Homestead, Miami.
Cup Series qualifying from Homestead Miami Speedway. Now after round 2 is complete, that means positions 13 through 24 are locked in. Alex Bowman will start 13th. Chase Elliott, the playoff contender, in 14th. All the way down, Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time champion, 19th. And Michael McDowell, 24th. Marty.
Well, Matt Kenseth winds up 17th, and we got to give you an A for effort. You tried that high line, didn't you?
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
No, I did good coming to the green, I thought. I thought we were faster getting to the start-finish line, so I probably should have ran a little higher in 1 and 2. I tried to duplicate. I just got in too hard and got up against the wall, and then it just got loose once I got up against the wall and couldn't get going. So not my best laps. I really didn't put together very many good laps. So we had a productive day. I thought we were fairly competitive in practice, and looking forward to tomorrow.
There's been a lot of talk about this possibly being the final race for you. Have you made an official decision as to whether or not that will be the case?
I'm just going to make this an annual deal. Every year I'm going to come down here and just milk it as long as I can.
All right, there you go. So that's the best non-answer I've ever heard Matt Kenseth give, but he has said, and he told us earlier this last month, he said, I'm probably my last race here this weekend at Homestead, Miami, a career likely coming to an end on Sunday.
But with a smile and a joke. I'll just make this an annual thing. As we flash back to 2003, and Matt Kenseth clinching the championship at Rockingham. And then playoffs began.
Great teammate, great champion.
Champion will be crowned in the Xfinity Series, but it starts off with Monster Energy Cup Series practice on NBCSN at 11:30, then qualifying for the Xfinity Series at 12:30, NASCAR America at 1:30, final practice for the Cup Series at 2, and then countdown to green and which one of the 4 in the Xfinity Series will become the champion. The green flag flying just after 3:30 tomorrow afternoon.
That's going to be a great race.
Yes. Yes, you have all the way from 20-year-old Cole Custer to 27-year-old Daniel Hemrick.
All really close on speed in practice today.
Christopher Bell looking for another championship, won in the Truck Series a year ago. And then Tyler Reddick, maybe the underdog coming into the championship at Miami for that Xfinity Series title. Now, the first of the championship 4, Joey Logano rolls toward the front of pit road, and they're on the clock. This is a 5-minute final round. Kevin Harvick out on the track. And did Harvick save tires? Was he able to save something for this round? He's been the slowest of the championship 4. Let's see if he can turn that around on this lap.
Chooses to run the bottom in 1 and 2. Chasing it up the track just a little bit, but sounds good on the throttle.
Once he committed to the throttle, he was able to stay in the throttle. Seemed like he may have waited just a touch. See when he gets in 3 and 4. Crosses that seam right there, right in the middle of the corner. It just seems like he has to wait on the throttle. Not rotating well enough, not getting pointed quick enough.
Tight both ends.
Yeah, there you go, tight both ends. He was able to go to the throttle hard. He just wasn't able to go to the throttle as soon as he needed to go to the throttle because he was waiting for the front tires to get hooked up and point the car.
31:40 for Harvick. Both Kurt Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. have run better already.
That's a good lap for Stenhouse. He was 6th in the second round. Having a good qualifying session.
He qualified 3rd last week as well, so qualifying well right now.
Keselowski lost a lot of time running the high line through 1 and 2. We'll see if he makes it up on exit.
Oh, he's going to make it up all right. Down the back straightaway, he's got some great speed. You see it in the tracker.
Very bouncy up there and very rough,
now,
it looks like.
Kurt running 31:29. We know that the rest of these guys ran flats, but some of these guys have to look at that lap. They need to be telling their drivers, look, that 2 car flew around the top of 1 and 2.
It came from Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson in the last round, he ran that top in 1 and 2 and in 3 and 4. I think that's what this 2 car saw. Look how rough this racetrack is.
Wonder if his teammate, Joe Logano, is going to get that information and get persuaded to try that.
Here comes Eric Almirola.
It's a risk to change your line in the middle of a session because you have to change your throttle inputs. Marty.
And guys, Kevin Harvick has pulled here on pit road. You heard the radio transmission. He said it was tight on both ends. So Tony Gibson's made the call. They're going to go back out. Tim Fiedel with the spotter on top of the roof has told him we have to leave pit road from our stall with 1 minute left. So they're only going to get about 48 seconds to cool down the car. But Steve, I would agree with this call with Kevin Harvick and his team. That time is not going to be nearly good enough, so why not try it again?
Well, my concern is because you don't want to overheat that engine. Doug Yates builds great horsepower, but there's going to have to be a threshold of temperature that they can run to, and that has to be priority 1. The last thing you want to do is hurt that power plant that is the one you have to carry through the race. It's got to be solid. You can't hurt it here in qualifying trying to get too much. I was distracted because the 20 of Eric Jones guys went for a big slide.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. So listen, Kyle Larson in the last round, he went out twice. He ran fast on the second time against the wall, right against the wall in 1 and 2, and right against the wall in 3 and 4. Kyle Busch going to the bottom. That information has to get relayed to the driver. Kyle Larson on hot tires, able to run the top and improve his time, and that's why Keselowski did what he did. See Kyle Busch losing speed down the back straightaway because of that top line that Keselowski ran.
And Logano also on the clock. Both Kyle Busch and Logano in the red. Kyle Busch fighting back. And here comes Kyle Busch. He'll be the fastest, 31:10.
Kyle Larson, he's going to be on the wall.
Logano, third quickest, 31:14.
Truex.
So close.
Truex second, 31:11.
Let's see what Harvick does. Let's see if he goes to the very top of the racetrack.
Barely got across the start line in time. The clock's run out.
So hard to make anything happen down there on older tires.
They're sawing on the wheel.
Especially to have to go out so quickly after a run. The tires are hot, slick. You can see it in the lap tracker.
Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin. 31:05 for Hamlin. And Kevin Harvick does not improve. Denny Hamlin sneaks in and wins the pole for the last race of the year. I had started the story earlier. He tweeted out a tweet that had mentioned his crew chief, Mike Wheeler, and they talked about all of the accomplishments. He said, we've accomplished so much in the time we've been together, and it almost made it sound like this is going to be it for Denny Hamlin and Mike Wheeler. There's been no official announcement. There was the tweet, but he says it's been a great ride. I think reading into that, you think, well, that means that this will be the end of that ride. What a way to go out if this is Mike Wheeler's last time with the 11 team.
Wheels, it's been a pleasure, man.
Look at that.
Remember, 12 years. Denny Hamlin's won a race. 12 straight years. No win this year. One more shot Sunday night.
Denny Hamlin removes the helmet and will debrief with Wheels. Kind of stole the show there. Everyone thought that it'd be a Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Logano maybe up front, but no, it's Denny Hamlin. Marty.
Calmly stole the show for Denny Hamlin and took that #1 pit stall away from his teammate, by the way. So last race for you and Wheels together, correct?
Unfortunately, yeah. Move on.
No, I know, but a crowning achievement for you guys to be able to win the pole here.
Yeah, just emotional because we're good friends.
I know it's tough, and you guys, your first race together, won the Daytona 500, so how would it mean to be able to get it in victory lane? You've done it before, Denny, coming here and winning in a year when you hadn't won all year long.
Yeah, I mean, it's big for us to get this race team up front here. We definitely want to end on a high note and try to win. 2013, we're in the same predicament where we hadn't won a race to the final race, and we got it done, so hopefully it's our time to do it. We're going to keep digging, and hats off to this team. We were hanging around that 7th to 10th first couple rounds, and Wheels made the right adjustments.
There you go, and you can see the emotion and what the friendship means to him, Kelly. The first guy to congratulate him in the window, Mike Wheeler. You see the two standing there, their final race together.
All right, so Denny Hamlin's Toyota teammate, Martin Truex Jr., comes up just a little bit short of the pole. What did you need there in that final round?
It was just a little bit too free that last run, and tried to get a little bit more. I just couldn't quite finish getting the throttle down off of both corners, and I think I lost a little bit there. But a good day, great effort by the guys, and nice, smooth, solid day is what we needed. So we can go win this thing from there. We'll get to work tomorrow.
We talked about that coveted #1 pit stall. Now that there's a non-championship for contender, does that kind of help level the playing field a little bit?
I would say it does, for sure, as long as the 11 keeps it. We'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, I think it does. Last year the same thing happened. He got the pole and took the first box, and, we all got what we could. So we'll see how it all plays out, But good first day, 2 to go, so we'll see what we can do.
All right, they wanted that smooth Friday. They got it. 3rd place for Martin Truex Jr. here in qualifying.
Yeah, Kelly,
the 4 team with the effort. Kevin Harvick going back out for that second run, and you said it was just too tight. Just couldn't get back to the gas as soon as you wanted, Kevin?
Yeah, we've just been off, as far as getting the front tires to turn today and qualifying trim, and that's all we've done. So our Jimmy John's Ford was just plowing tight the first time we went out, shattering the tires, and we made it better the second round, and then third round it was just too tight in 1 and 2 down there where we were okay in the first 2 rounds, and it got tight down there and still tight down there. So we'll go to work on it, and we didn't qualify that good here last year either. So definitely need to figure out what we got to do in the qualifying trim, but hopefully our race stuff is good.
New tires are everything here at Miami. So how difficult was it to try to do it on the second run out there?
It was kind of a waste of time. We got an A for.
Well, you had to try, right?
We got an A for effort. Yeah. But definitely hard to, after the third run they slow down, and then the fourth run, right off the bat, your chances are slim to none.
Well, Steve, I think you called that. You said the A for effort. You didn't think it was going to work, but at least they tried it.
Yeah, an A for effort. And I think Martin Truex Jr. cleared up a thought. Normally we just assign the #1 pit stall to the pole sitter because that's where they pick. If I'm Adam Stevens, I'm taking Mike Wheeler, Denny Hamlin's crew chief, to dinner tonight. Whatever he needs, is there any chance he would pick one of the openings and give Kyle Busch the #1 pit stall? That's going to be interesting tomorrow morning when we see the crew chiefs line up to pick pits. I mean, he has a responsibility to try to win with the 11, and the #1 stall's the best. But Burton, you'd be with me, right? You'd be some heavy politicking tonight.
If I was your driver, I'd definitely be with you. I'd be wanting that #1 stall.
But you say your driver, Denny Hamlin, wanting that #1 stall, or Kyle Busch?
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Kyle Busch, and it's within the organization running for a championship, and the way pit stalls work is if you have the fastest time of qualifying, you pick first. Then the guy second picks next. So if Denny Hamlin picks any other stall than #1, we know that Kyle Busch is going to take the #1 stall.
They were in the same situation last year, and Denny picked the #1 pit box.
Will that change this year?
Yeah, so
that's
it'll be
a big question right now. Will they hand off the best spot on pit road to a championship 4 contender and teammate Kyle Busch? Interesting question. In Miami tomorrow, Xfinity Series race coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern on NBCSN. Then Sunday, Monster Energy Cup Series on NBC. That race coverage starting at 3 o'clock Eastern. Just moments ago, Kelly caught up with Joey Logano.
Okay, so it'll be a 5th place starting position for Joey Logano. And after this morning's practice, did that live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I thought, our first 2 runs in practice wasn't very good, but we were able to make some good changes for the third run, and then some good changes between practice and qualifying, which got our Shell Pennzoil Ford quite a bit quicker. And after the first round, I thought we were pretty close to where we needed to be, and got a little bit off the second round and just a little bit too loose off of turn 2, the final round there. Couldn't quite get the throttle down on the bottom there, so just a little bit off, but overall, I think that's a solid place for us to start. We qualified 19th here last year, so there's a little bit of an improvement there, and we'll put this thing in race trim tomorrow and really see what it's got.
Well, when you look at this lineup, 3 of you pretty close together. Harvick qualified 12th. How do you like your starting spot?
Just a starting spot, but I feel good about that. You're going to get a decent, a decent pit stall. It's actually a good thing that Denny got the pole, and that takes away pit stall 1, so it's a lot of good things there.
Thanks, Joey.
Thanks.
Positive outlook. Let's go to a popular location on pit road, Peacock Pit Box, and Steve Letarte.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I'm here with Eric Amarola. Eric, so the 10 car starting 10th. Let's just talk about these playoffs. So last week, had that chance on the front row. What were those closing laps at Phoenix like?
Intense. Really intense. That's what you dream about as a kid. Like, if you're a basketball player, if you're messing around at the basketball court, you're like 3, 2, 1. You shoot it right at the end, trying to get the buzzer beater. As a race car driver, that's what you dream about, having a restart at the end of the race and an opportunity to go try and get it done. Unfortunately, we just were a little bit off. I couldn't get the car to roll the middle like I needed it to, and I couldn't get the throttle down to drive up next to Kyle on that one restart. So, it's kind of bittersweet. What an amazing year we've had, but then right there to be that close, it's dangling right in front of you, and to not be able to get it was a little bit frustrating.
So I'm going to circle back to here in Miami in the championship race. But first, you mentioned the year. You were announced you were coming to drive for Stewart-Haas Racing. I know you and Tony Stewart are such good friends. Could you ever have put on paper, could you ever have dreamt how this year would have worked out?
No. you know, you hypothesize about how it can be, right? You think like, man, they're one of the best teams in the garage. If I just get that opportunity, like I can go do it. But you don't ever really know until you go do it. And so for us, you know, brand new team, Johnny Klossmeyer in his first year being a crew chief, my first year at Stewart-Haas Racing, going up against all those teams. I mean, that was one thing that I kind of thought about going into Phoenix was like, this is brand new for us. Like this pressure, this intensity, this level of excellence that's expected through the playoffs, like this is new for us. And so as a new group, like we were going up against, you know, Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick and Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch and Cole Pern and Martin and all these guys that have 5-ish years, plus or minus a couple years of experience working together. So I just feel like we have so much more room to grow and get better, and that this is just the beginning of good things to come.
Well, you just mentioned them. You listed 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
Are we surprised that these are the 4, and just how good are these 4? Like, what do you expect Sunday?
I think all 4. They're really, really good, and what I feel like when you look at them, they're very seasoned. They're all very veteran, and at the same time, they execute on every level. Like that, you look at the 22, he's off at the beginning of practice, and then they find a way to that final run of practice to find what they need. You know the 4 is going to be good. All these guys, you know, they just know how to win, and that is a learned trait, and you know that from all of your years, and I know Jeff and Dale and those guys, you know that when racing is one thing, and then learning how to win is something completely different. And I feel like we've put ourselves in position enough times throughout this year that we've had plenty of opportunity to learn from our mistakes. And I feel like as we continue to grow, we'll capitalize on those opportunities.
So you mentioned winning. Probably the most controversial playoff race we had. Joey Logano moves Martin Truex Jr., wins that race at Martinsville. Do you think that affects him heading into this race Sunday? Or as a race car driver, like from a race car driver's point of view, was that expected?
Yeah, I think when you look at that and now you look back at the you know that whole round, if Joey doesn't do that, he's not racing for a championship here, right? Like he's down there by us in the garage. So I feel like, you know, that was his opportunity, and he did what he felt like he needed to do to make it to Homestead. Martin was not happy about it, and I'm sure Martin Truex Jr. fans were not happy about it. But I guarantee you that every guy on that 22 team, everybody back at Penske, all of their partners, they were happy about it. So it's you know, there's give and take, and then sometimes situations call for all take.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you don't think the field races made either. Martin Truex might, but everybody else sees him the same. I'm assuming you would do the same if you had the chance. I mean, that's what playoffs are all about.
That's right. I mean, you got an opportunity right there in front of you. And I watched the replay, and Martin raced them fair and square, but Martin had a 50 or 60 point gap back to the cutoff right? Maybe if he was in the same situation, maybe he would still do the same. I don't know. But yeah, you look at Joey, he's down below the cutoff line, not sure what to expect out of his team at Texas or Phoenix. So he had an opportunity to win, and he took it.
So another curveball, non-playoff guy. Sits on the pole here in Miami. It happened last year, and Denny Hamlin took the first pit stall. I said, if I'm Adam Stevens, I'm buying Mike Wheeler dinner. Anything he could do to not take pit stall 1.
Yeah.
You race in a multi-organization, right? Like if you are the pole sitter, would you be shocked if your crew chief said you gave up the first pit stall after the work you put in on the racetrack?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That would be a really tough decision. I think it ended up being a non-factor last year. You know, Martin won the race, not from pit stall 1, and they were probably the best team off pit road. They won the race because they got off pit road first and weren't in stall 1. So I honestly don't think that'll be a factor.
You know me, I'm always strategizing.
I know.
Every advantage. Crew chiefs take every advantage.
That's right.
So just talk about the pressure of the playoff. Let's talk about Sunday night specifically.
Yep.
You're out there. You've had a great year. I know you have a teammate in it. When you race those 4, though?
Yeah.
Like, I know you're here to win the race, but do you have to race them differently with what's on the line?
Absolutely. You have to respect those guys. You know, they've put in a season's worth of work to get to this point. And so while, yes, we're all still going out there racing for our partners and our sponsors, and, you know, I want to win on Ford Championship weekend in a Ford, but at the same time, you've got to be conscious. You you can't do something stupid. You're still going to race, and you're still going to race them. But you can't be over your head around those guys, because if you do something that takes those guys out, you would just feel awful about it. Or at least I know I would. I would feel awful about it. But you still got to race. You know, if I've got a better car and I'm catching, you know, any of those guys, you're going to do, you know, you're going to do what you think you need to do to get by them. Not going to move them out of the way, not going to wreck them, but you'll definitely race them with respect. But if you're faster, you're going to pass them. You're not just going to ride behind them and say, oh, they're racing for a championship, I'm just going to hang out and watch.
Well, listen, thanks for coming to join us. Congratulations on a great year. I've known you a long time. Great guy, great race car driver. It's great to see you smile with the good runs, and it's great to see you disappointed with good runs, because you expect to win races.
Human nature, man.
That's exactly right.
We're all greedy, right?
We're
all competitors. We're all greedy. We want to win, and especially when you get that close. So it's been a fun year. We still got a chance to cap it off and finish 5th in the points. We're only 4 points out of 5th, so that'd be a great year for us.
There you go. And Rick, I think he said it the best, right? You have to race those 4, but do it with respect. It is going to be a heavyweight battle Sunday night.
Talked about a big year for Aric Almirola. 16 top 10s. That's 9 more than he's ever had in a year. So a very big year for Aric Almirola. And Marty Snyder, moments ago, caught up with Kyle Busch.
So close for Kyle Busch and his team, 4/100ths of a second. You know, you can remind Denny he doesn't have to take pit stall number 1, right? Does he owe you any favors?
Probably not. Man, it's unfortunate for us, but that's 2 years in a row that he's been able to sneak up and do that. So, you know, certainly our M&M's Camry was pretty good. I thought I hit a really good lap there. Maybe just got a little too tight in 3 and 4, but other than that, I thought it was good enough. And when Adam said that's P1 for now, I was like, oh, well, who's going to go out there and beat us? And sure enough, the 11 sneaks up on you. So overall, just proud of the effort. Glad that we had a good feel for what we had here today, and we'll go in and see what happens tomorrow.
In all sincerity, it's fair to have that conversation, right? Because if it was flipped around, you would probably expect him to come have that conversation with you, right?
Sure. Yeah, we can have the conversation. I just don't know if it's just going to go. So we'll see. I don't know. That's up to Joe. That's a Joe call. That's not an Adam or Wheels call.
Above everybody's pay grade, might go all the way up to coach. Congratulations, Kyle Busch, 2nd fastest in qualifying.
That's a Joe call. Well, it's Joe Gibbs Racing, so they all work for him. We'll see what Joe Gibbs decides to make that call.
Sports. A drag race, and it's going to be Logano getting the win.
Welcome to modern day endurance racing. It's going to be like this for the next 23 hours and 15 minutes.
Will Power is going to win the Indianapolis 500. NASCAR, IMSA, IndyCar, and the new home of the Indy 500 on NBC.
And very excited to be the home of motorsports. So many great events, and you can find them all right here on the NBC network. So qualifying is done. We mentioned every time they go on the racetrack, a competition. So this competition between the Championship 4 won by Kyle Busch. He was the fastest of the Championship 4, then Martin Truex Jr., Logano, and Harvick. Now, does Harvick have to worry because he was 12th out of the 12?
Well, you heard him say he qualified 9th here last year, and you could just see his car did not turn. So I think they would start worrying if their car doesn't turn tomorrow in race practice. But right now, still plenty of time to get ready for the race and be just fine.
Yeah, I think he is a little concerned about the balance in his car not being good right off the truck, and that stuff, even though there's going to be a different setup for the race trim, it does kind of bleed over, and if they can't fix that tomorrow, he could be in big trouble.
All right, the big topic, though, is will Denny Hamlin take the #1 pit stall after winning that spot by getting the pole position? And we bring in our crew chief. What would you do, Steve?
Well, you see right here that Kyle Busch he was asked, do you think that Denny Hamlin would take? And he said that's probably too far, but it'd sure be nice. Truex kind of agrees. I don't think it's too far. If I was Mike Willett, the crew chief of the 11, I'd have a conversation with Coach Gibbs to make sure he was on board, but I would give up the #1 pit stall. I would give it to my teammate, the driver of the 18. I would understand that for me, I grew up at Hendrick Motorsports, 4-car organization. Rick Hendrick was always about going down there and do the best you can to win a race and to win a championship. I know that if I wanted to keep that stall, I needed to be in the playoffs. It would be unpopular, but it'd be right for the organization. So I would give it up. Most important race of the year.
And I'm sure that's what Dustin right now is asking Mike Wheeler. What will you do as far as pit selection? That's going to be answered tomorrow when we find out where all the pit stalls will be and who's in them.